Welcome to Racing X. Today we're counting down our picks for the best ATV games that you should check out. And without further ado, let's dive right in. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Alright, first off, I have to tell you that this video focuses on games that are available on PC or modern consoles. So yeah, sadly, some legendary games like the ATV Off-Road Fury series or even the ATV Quad Power Racing games won't be here. Anyway, GTA San Andreas was my first experience riding an ATV, or as it's called in the game, the quad bike. And yeah, it's a bit tricky to ride since it tends to oversteer. But regardless, it's one of the most iconic vehicles in the game. So yeah, the nostalgia is really strong with this one.
Next time we play really rough.
Yeah.
MX vs ATV Supercross Encore. Okay, at number 24, we have this game, which is basically the enhanced version of MX vs ATV Supercross. You get more content, better presentation, and the same Supercross focus, with bikes and ATVs fighting through tight tracks, jumps, and rhythm sections. But now, let's be honest, this is not the strongest MX vs ATV game ever made. The handling can feel rough, and the whole package feels smaller compared to the classics. But when it comes to ATV games, there really aren't that many decent options out there. So yeah, beggars can't be choosers right now. ATV Drift and Tricks. Now, this is one of the simplest and most arcadey ATV games you can play right now. I mean, just look at the vibrant visuals and the spectacular gameplay. So yeah, if you're a hardcore sim player who wants realistic weight transfer, realistic mud deformation, and serious physics, this is definitely not your game. But then, if you're a casual player, a newcomer, or even a parent who just wants something easy to play with your kids, it actually does the job. It's simple, colorful, fast enough, and focused on quick races, stunts, and harmless ATV fun. OVERPASS. So, this one is a very niche off-road game made for players who want something slower, tougher, and more simulation focused. As you can see, this is not your usual arcade racer where ATVs fly off ramps and spam tricks every 5 seconds. Here, the challenge is reading the terrain, choosing the right route, managing throttle, and not flipping your vehicle like an idiot. And sure, there are better realistic off-road games out there, but for a game focused on lightweight off-road machines, technical obstacles, and careful driving, OVERPASS is still one of the better options today. Off-road racing, Buggy, ATV, and Moto. Alright, this is basically the continuation of ATV Drift and Tricks, but with more vehicle types. But now, let's be real, I don't think the devs put that much effort into this one, because a lot of it feels recycled, from the tracks to the gameplay to the overall arcade feel. Still, for the average person who doesn't play racing games that seriously, this can actually work. You get buggies, ATVs, and motos mixed with enough casual off-road fun to pass the time. And no, it's not going to be legendary, but hey, not every game has to be. Far Cry 3. At number 20, we have this game. And before anyone starts asking questions, no, this is not a racing game. This is an open-world shooter where you explore the islands by driving, swimming, gliding, boating, and, of course, riding ATVs. And the reason it's here is simple. The quad bikes are actually a memorable part of moving around this game. I mean, cruising through jungle roads, beaches, and enemy areas on an ATV just feels right. So yeah, it's not here because it's an amazing ATV game. It's mostly here for nostalgia, and honestly, that still counts too. Mad Riders. Okay, this is a game that gets clowned on a lot because everyone keeps comparing it to Nailed, which came out 2 years earlier and did this whole fast ATV race thing better. And yeah, I get it. Mad Riders really does feel like you bought Nailed, but from Temu. But still, that does not make it useless, as it's quite fun and enjoyable. I mean, you still get fast tracks, big jumps, boost pads, tricks, and ridiculous quad racing energy. So, if Nailed is not enough for you, this one is worth checking out. Grand Theft Auto 5. Now, like San Andreas, this is an open-world game first and foremost, not a dedicated ATV racer. But goddamn, just exploring Los Santos and Blaine County is already fun, especially when the game throws every kind of vehicle at you. And yes, that includes ATVs. You can ride them across beaches, dirt trails, mountains, and desert roads, and the game even has missions and off-road races where ATVs actually make sense. So no, this is not a great ATV game, but it is a great game where riding ATVs is still a blast.
I gotta get my eyes checked.
TrackDayR. So this one is actually a motorcycle sim, made for players who want to ride different types of bikes across different tracks with more serious handling. But over time, the devs kept building the game, and one of the updates even added ATVs into the mix. So yeah, this is still not an ATV first game, and casual players should probably stay away unless they enjoy failing over and over again. But if you want something with more physics depth than your average arcade ATV game, this one can be interesting. It's niche, but that's the whole point. Far Cry 5. Just like Far Cry 3, this one is not a racing game but an open-world shooter with a great sense of exploration. The map is full of dirt roads, forests, farms, hills, rivers, and random chaos, so riding an ATV actually feels natural here. You also get Clutch Nixon stunt missions, where the game basically turns into a ridiculous stunt driving challenge, plus moments where you chase ATV couriers using one yourself. So yeah, this is not made for racing purists, but if you want an open world game where ATVs fit the adventure, this one is worth considering. MX vs ATV All Out. Alright, this one is still not one of the games people usually call the best in the series. The handling can feel floaty, the presentation is uneven, and if you're a hardcore player who treats racing game physics like your life depends on it, yeah, you'll probably complain. But for normal players who just want to race, jump, mess around, and ride different off-road vehicles, there's still fun here. You get bikes, ATVs, and even UTVs. So yeah, you still get the usual dirt racing energy, as long as you don't expect reflex level greatness. MudRunner with mods. Okay, this one is actually an off-road trucking sim, but the reason it belongs here is simple. The mud physics are ridiculous, the vehicle weight feels heavy, and the terrain deformation is still better than most off-road games today. On top of that, the game is insanely moddable, so PC players can add ATV mods and turn it into a very different experience. So yeah, if you care more about crawling through mud, fighting the ground, and feeling every mistake instead of doing arcade jumps, this is probably the closest thing you can get to that. Dakar 18. So this one sits more in the Simcade lane, aiming to recreate the famous Dakar rally with a more serious, realistic structure. In this game, you're crossing huge open terrain, reading navigation, managing direction, and trying not to get lost like a confused tourist with no internet. And no, the physics are not really the main spotlight. The real appeal is the race itself, the scale, the navigation, the endurance, and the feeling of surviving a long rally stage. So yeah, simulation is not always just about physics. Sometimes it's about the whole event experience. MX versus ATV Untamed. Now, we're getting into one of the better entries in the series, and for a lot of players, this one carries heavy nostalgia. It's still an arcade racer at heart, with bikes, ATVs, and even monster trucks thrown into the chaos. That variety is cool, but honestly, I do think the physics feel like a small step backward compared to the first game. Something about the handling feels less satisfying to me. But hey, physics are always a matter of taste. So, yeah, if this game feels good in your hands, then that's what matters. Fuel. Alright, so this is one of those hidden gem racing games that tried something crazy for its time. A massive post-apocalyptic open world with around 5,000 square miles to explore. That alone makes it interesting, especially when you're driving across deserts, forests, mountains, and empty roads on bikes, quads, and other vehicles. Now, by today's standards, the world can feel pretty empty, so don't expect every corner to be packed with exciting stuff. But back then, this game was doing something different. So yeah, if you're old, I know you're feeling nostalgic for this game.
We're gonna get through this is by sticking together.
Grand Theft Auto 6. Okay, I know that this game hasn't been released yet, and we still haven't seen a proper gameplay showcase, but come on, it's Rockstar. I know goddamn well this game will be stupidly fun, even if all you do is drive around, explore Leonida, and mess with every vehicle you can steal. And judging from the trailers, ATVs and dirt bikes look like they'll be very common, especially with the street riding culture inspired by real-life Miami, so yeah, this is a prediction pick. But if any unreleased game deserves that trust, it's GTA 6. OVERPASS 2. So this one is basically the upgraded version of the first game, and honestly, it is better in almost every area. The visuals look cleaner, the vehicles feel more varied, the courses are more interesting, and the whole package feels more complete. But again, don't expect this to be the king of vehicle physics or some perfect off-road simulator. It still has that slightly awkward feel sometimes, especially with the weight of the vehicles. But for its specific niche, which is technical off-road driving with ATVs, UTVs, and obstacle-focused courses, I'd instantly recommend this over the first game. MX versus ATV Unleashed. Now this one is basically the game that kicked off the most famous motocross-style racing franchise ever. And for a first entry, it came out swinging. You get bikes, ATVs, massive jumps, outdoor tracks, freestyle events, and that old-school early 2000s off-road vibe that just hits different. Also, almost every part of the game feels surprisingly competent, from the handling to the event variety to the legendary soundtrack. And because the game was built by absolute madmen, you can even fly helicopters and planes too. Yeah, this game was doing a lot, no doubt about it. The Crew Motorfest. This game is basically one of the hottest modern racing games, at least until Forza Horizon 6 came in and stole the whole conversation. But even then, Motorfest still has something Forza games usually don't have: bikes and ATVs. That alone makes it stand out for people who want more than just cars. You get a huge open world, tons of events, different vehicle types, and that chill free roam vibe where you can mess around with friends, assuming you have any. Anyway, it's not an ATV game first, but as an open world racing playground, it delivers very well. Dakar Desert Rally. This game takes a very different approach from the previously mentioned Dakar 18. Instead of going all in on the slower, navigation-heavy simcade feeling, this one leans more toward an arcade-style Dakar experience made for mainstream players. But don't get me wrong, you still get huge terrain, brutal weather, different vehicle classes, and yes, quads. But the whole thing is easier to jump into and enjoy. And if you want something a bit more serious, sim mode is there to make it feel more sim-like. But again, both games are targeting different kind of players, plain and simple. MX versus ATV Alive. Okay, this is one of the stronger entries when it comes to physics in the MX versus ATV lineup. The bikes and ATVs have a weighty, responsive feel, and when you land jumps properly, the game feels satisfying. But the problem is everything else around that physics model. The content is limited, the progression is awful, and the package feels like it needed more time in the oven. But if you care more about how the vehicles handle than how much content you get, Alive can still be your game. It's flawed, but the writing works. Nailed. This was one of those hidden gems from the arcade racing era, back when devs were still allowed to make completely unhinged racing games. And at first glance, it might look like it's trying to copy Pure, because you're riding bikes and ATVs through massive off-road tracks. But really, this game is not about tricks or stylish aerial combos. It's about speed, chaos, huge jumps, and flying through the air like gravity didn't exist. And yeah, some people don't like it because you're airborne way too often, but bro, that's exactly where it shines the most. MX versus ATV Legends. Alright, this is the hottest and most popular motocross and ATV game right now, especially for casual players who just want simple dirt racing without digging through old games. And yeah, the launch was rough, the game came out with problems, and people had every right to complain. But after a lot of updates, it's in a much better place now. You get bikes, ATVs, UTVs, career events, online racing, and enough off-road variety to keep things moving. So if you're just a regular guy and can only pick one game, then this is it. Pure. Okay, this is probably the most popular ATV-focused game of all time, and yes, it is easy to see why. This game is basically the blueprint for what a fun arcade racing game should be. I mean, you race through wild tracks, launch off massive jumps, pull ridiculous tricks, build up boost, and somehow make every landing feel like you just survived something illegal. It's not trying to be realistic, and that is exactly the point. It's fast, stylish, loud, and stupidly fun. So if you're obsessed with ATVs, this one is a must-play. MX versus ATV Reflex. If you're a hardcore dirt bike game fan, you already know why Reflex deserves the #1 spot. This game has been preached by the community for years, and honestly, the hype is justified. The physics feel sharp, the terrain deformation is still satisfying, and the dual-stick control system gives you way more control over the rider and the machine. And on PC, the mod ability makes it even crazier, with custom tracks, bikes, and community content keeping the game alive. So if you're serious about your virtual dirt racing career, this is still the game. So, do you agree with our picks? Check out these other videos from us and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.